Welcome to the Rebel Love Show, where we are pro-pot, pro-gun, and pro-coffee.
And pro-kitty cat.
And pro-cats. You can find all of our content on Facebook.com/RebelLoveShow, RebelLoveShow.com, YouTube.com/RebelLoveShow. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher, and we're now syndicated on JRev Radio.
Whoop, whoop.
I am Rob Mathias.
And I'm Joel Valenzuela.
And today we have the Free Stater documentarian of our day, of our age, none other than Beau Davis. You're doing the 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire from 101reasonsfilm.com.
That's correct, yeah.
So, Beau, my question for you is, how do you like filming this documentary? You've been doing this since the beginning of the year, right?
I've been really enjoying it. I guess a little bit about myself. I attended the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale for 4 years. I got a degree and everything. I ended up going back home, and I stayed home after college for like 3 years, jobless, like not motivated, really in a kind of a bad mindset too. Like I wasn't pushing myself. And one of the things that really helped was to discover something like this, like the Free State Project, where people are actively, they're excited about what they're doing. They feel purposeful. I have very much purpose, like I think much more so than when I was just sitting on my ass looking for something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely helps you get up in the morning and go to work or look for a job, etc. Is when you know you're working for a good cause. It's not like you're just punching out that time card. It's like,
right.
Hey, we're changing the world. As long as I cannot starve to death, I don't care how little I'm paid, as long as I can just keep going.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, since I landed here, I felt like I walk and wake up every morning with a purpose in life. Before, I felt kind of the same way when I was living back home in Chicago. Like I felt like I had no purpose to my life. Like what am I doing? I was just existing, and here I'm actually living my life, and I'm living for a purpose to achieve liberty in our lifetime. I know that sometimes that sounds cheesy to some people or whatnot, but it's something I'm passionate about. I know you're passionate about. All of us here for the Free State Project are passionate about it. So how long you been in the Shire? How long ago did you move here?
Well, I came in 2011. I actually jumped on board with Pete Eyre and Adamo Freeman on the Liberty on Tour, Free State Friendship Tour is what it was called.
Okay.
And we basically toured around New Hampshire and went all made videos, and we actually started out with the Pete and Adamo's wiretapping trial in Greenfield, Massachusetts, and started and ended that tour there. They had actually, it's kind of funny because, I was researching liberty and voluntarism and agorism, all these different, these individualist concepts. And I didn't really, I wasn't anticipating how soon I was going to be coming to New Hampshire. I was in communication with Pete Eyre and Adamo, and within 3 days of talking to them and agreeing, coming to an agreement on filming for them, I ended up flying to New Hampshire. They bought me a ticket. I kind of came out here pretty unprepared with a little cash, kind of like when I interviewed you earlier, and you had said, don't come here broke. Don't come here without a plan. I kind of did that.
Well, it seems like work out for you. I mean, some people do move here without a plan or anything like that.
Yeah,
but you seem like you fell on your feet, right?
Yeah, well, I actually, one of the first things I did when I landed in Keene after the tour was my brother and I and a few other people kind of set up a tent city just outside of Keene on state land, so the city could never bother us. They didn't have jurisdiction or whatever, I guess. And so we set up camp, and we lived out in the woods for about 2 or 3 months. Before I ended up getting pneumonia, and I was like, all right, I'm getting an apartment.
That's a pretty good problem to get a house.
Yeah. So after a night in the hospital, like with an IV and all that. So, but yeah, so I ended up, I got myself an apartment, and soon after that, I got arrested on drug charges because at the time I was going to the 420 rallies in Keene. I was, you know, I was kind of preaching to the locals about agorism, and
Mm-hmm.
and in part, you know, my agorism, I got arrested, and I was charged with 3 felony charges, 2 of them which still to this day I don't know how they came about. Like who was corrupted in this, you know, because like somebody set me up basically.
Okay.
I had man, I wish I wasn't talking about this when I'm talking about the film.
No, that's
But,
fine. I mean,
you know,
everyone knows what the film is. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
more
a-
interested in your personal story than.
It's it's what you don't see on film. I mean, it's the background to the that really makes the film incredible is the artist. You want to know about the artist, not just the completed canvas.
Right, yeah. Well, basically, I ended up, they charged me with 2 sales to an informant on 2 different occasions, one each time. They claimed that I sold fake, purported cocaine to an informant.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I had lent this girl a few grams of like really high grade herb, and she had paid me back later, you know, like, or, you know, returned the favor later on. But it turned out she was an informant, and I walked away from meeting up with her at one point, and then I ended up in Central Square, and all of a sudden cops came out of the fucking bushes and started arresting me, or they arrested me. They had no warrant. They had something they called a Gerstein affidavit, where within 24 hours of a warrantless arrest, if it's signed by a judge, it justifies their actions somehow. And there were the 2 charges, the felony charges of purported sales of purported cocaine. They had charged me with, because they had arrested me and found an ounce of 7 different bags of you know, herb.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so they had intent to distribute is what they called that.
So you done your time for plants.
Yeah. But someone either the DTF or the informant threw me into the bus somehow with these false charges, because I've never touched real cocaine in my entire life.
Were you targeted by the Keene PD because of your political affiliations with, you know, Free Keene and Free Staters, or was it just a random bust?
By their paperwork, it was nothing to do about, there was no mention of any kind of activism, Free State Project, Free Keene, anything like that. What they ended up, what was interesting though is, as I'm getting, I have to give backstory, I guess, to tell this, but when I got arrested, I didn't process at the police station before they took me to the jail, and so I sat in a holding cell for like 24 hours or something like that before I processed, and I was cold and hungry, and you know, and so I ended up. I finally processed at the jail. They didn't bother processing me. And so one of my conditions upon release way later on was that I go back to the police station to process.
After you were released, you still had to go be processed for the arrest.
Right.
What happened if you didn't go to the process?
Well, then I would have broken, you know, violated the terms of the agreement, and I would have ended up back in jail, I guess. So as I'm walking out the door from that final processing, Detective Ramey, one of the female officer that arrested me, along with Officer Uhas and other members of the drug task force, she had said, as she, you know, and she was totally convinced that I was this dirt bag that was selling, you know, fake stuff to my friends, and she kept saying stuff like that and everything. But as I walked out the door, she says, "You know who it was, right?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She says, it was your Free State buddy, Will. And there was a kind of a friend I was hanging out with, a friend I thought he was a friend, I was hanging out with him while I was living in Keene, and he had said he basically went to, like, I later found out in my discovery that I got from the police and the prosecution that he had voluntarily submitted information about me. Like, he had come to the DTF and the police and said, Beau Davis is selling
So
drugs.
he wasn't even approached in any way, shape, or form. He literally just voluntarily decided to go up to the police and rat you out.
Sounds like
Right.
someone had a bone to pick. Did you figure out if there
Well-
was a reason behind that, or was it just a random, weird, spiteful person?
About a day or two before, I was at a party, and I just happened to be, packing the bowls, and people were happy around me and stuff, and, he pulled me aside and was yelling at me outside of the house, and he's like, "You got to get out of here. You're stealing my friends, stealing, my thing, he was actually,
And this guy's a free stater?
no, he's not, and that's the
I was gonna
interesting thing.
say,
The police
I can't
thought-
imagine one free stater going to the police.
No, and he's not a free stater. He actually moved to Keene right around the same time I moved to Keene, and he just, like, it's kind of weird. He was one of those people that was actually living in the tent city with Rob and I for a little while. He was kind of off to the side. But yeah, so he was on the documentation along with this other woman, Darcy Wilson, who was the female informant that they claimed that I sold purported cocaine to, which I had only actually just ever dabbled in herb with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think that's the one good thing about this community here, is the nuclear option is not an option. The go to the cops thing. If you do resort to those measures, it's kind of like
You might as well walk away from the
Yeah,
community completely.
Yeah, you might as well just be ready to be thrown in the stocks with tomatoes thrown at your head, because that's not taken too very kindly around here. And so, that's why it's self-explanatory that this person was outside the community, because even people who hate each other around here, which is hopefully is not too many, but it's too many. People who hate each other
There's
around,
too
There's
many.
too much drama.
people who hate each other would not stoop to that. And I think
Right.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's why I like it. This community has principles. I'm glad to be around trusted friends.
Oh yeah, I mean the
Or
principles
even
that
trusted enemies.
even if you have so-called enemies within the community, like if they step out of bounds in regards to any kind of aggression or what's right and what's wrong, like you have a case against them. Like people will back you even if they're not
There's
your friends.
ostracism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a full thing that happens within the community, and it's an interesting thing to like view, because it's not something you see in normal, like what normal people, the way they act, they operate with in regards to relationships with other people and whatnot. Like this community, like if someone wrongs you and that wrong is never corrected, at some point, if it never, if you try to do mediation, it doesn't work. Like it comes out in the open, and it is full there for everyone to see, as if it's like a Yelp review of another person's, activities that everyone should be aware of. This is how this person acts.
So that means we need a Porcupine People Yelp, where we
No,
rate fellow porcupines, and then if someone just wrongs you, you just give them a real doozy of a personal Porcupine Yelp review, and then it's like, oh, that'll show them.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, like eBay is a great example of, and Yelp are great examples of like free market reputation systems. Like there really could be, like, for instance, the NHLA goes and they report on how well how
Yeah.
liberty oriented politicians are, and so people can vote if they want to vote.
Yeah, you could do the same thing in regards to people in the community. Though I don't know how receptive some people in the community would be of people putting them in an app and having other people rate
Posting
them.
reviews.
Posting
yeah.
reviews.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that could find its way into one hideous dating app, because it's a small insular community.
You could literally take the code from like a dating app like Tinder and make that into a porcupine, like, great or not, and like actually show like the reviews of everyone.
Yeah, it's like because a lot of times I've found that to be sort of the case. where someone comes into the community. It's like, oh, what about this? It's like, no. You don't know the skinny on this person. Let me break it down for you. And although it's not, everyone has to find that out for themselves. It helps to have like the word of caution beforehand sometimes, just to have that in the back of your mind as a preface,
Right.
Speaking of new movers, like it's always interesting when you meet a new mover and they either are completely like very knowledgeable on the community, or they have no idea what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
And it's I really love meeting, like there's a new one, the Shire dude, Andrew.
Shire dude.
Yeah, he's been here for like 2 weeks, and like he knows like everything going on. He knows who everyone is. Like he knows how everyone operates. He knows what's what, and it's like thrilling to see a mover come in and like is running as soon as he hits hit the ground, and he already knows where everything is. He has no like learning curve. He already has that curve learned, and he's ready to go. And it's amazing to see when a new mover comes in like that.
Yeah, and they just get right into doing,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, a lot of times there's the phase where they're just like trying to adjust to the fact that they're here, and there's, meeting everyone and stuff like that, which he's doing most likely. But I just get this huge sense that he knows everything. Like he has a full understanding of the intricacies of the community and is operating within it as if he's been here for a year and he's been here 2 weeks.
Right. That's kind of how Derek J was when he got here. He just like instantly got a job right away, found a place, and was instantly doing activism that was effective and being gaining attention to the movement here.
Yeah, he's definitely a doer and a shaker, and we're really glad to have him back in the Shire. He moved back to Keene just the other day. Have you seen him over there since then?
Yeah, actually, just like minutes before I left to come to Manchester for this filming trip, I just like saw him. I was like, "Hey, it's good to see you again," and small talk for a minute, but that was it was good to see him.
Yeah, it'll be great seeing him at PorcFest, etc. Also, of course, I'm sure we can't wait to have him on our show because we've been on his show a few times. It's about time he returned the favor.
Yeah.
He owes us.
So now, speaking of Derek, victimless crime spree, the man, the legend.
Yeah. He owes you a big thanks for that.
Yeah, because you're the one that put him on the map.
Oh well, no. I mean, he did all that himself. I just kind of like he and I worked together pretty closely to just stitch it together and make the story happen, and make it compelling. And so I mean, like really, I just mainly edited.
Yeah, well,
it was fun though.
I mean, a lot of people draw their inspiration for moving behind that film, and I have to admit to my eternal shame, I only watched it the week before I moved because I knew I was going to stay with Derek J in Philly, and I might as well see the movie that's all the hullabaloo about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I move. Like I didn't need that as an incentive to move, but I'm still like, might as well watch this before I get in trouble for not having never seen it before. But very good job on that. It's definitely
Thank you.
It hits home in a certain way that a lot of people don't notice. It's like this is what hardcore activism's all about, and it's not always pretty. And I like that uncompromised. It's not like, come to Keene, get arrested, you'll be fine. Right. It's like, no, come to Keene, get arrested. Oh crap!
Yeah.
There's some risk involved too. It's like not like you just fight for liberty and everything's rosy. Sometimes you have to actually take hits for the cause.
Right. Yeah. And so hopefully the people that were inspired by that, like also at the end, like you were saying, they see the need for cautious, assuming caution.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I know I inspired a lot of people to move. That was one of my biggest reasons why I signed the pledge to move, because I saw, people doing something, putting their life on the line for something they believe in. And to me, I was like, I gotta get here to help out the cause any way I can.
Well, as far as a future victimless crime spree project possibility, I've been talking to Rich Paul about doing a Rich Paul's victimless crime spree as part of a series of these movies.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And
yeah, make a full-length ballad of Rich Paul.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw my 5-minute one.
That was really well put together.
Well,
it was
thanks.
awesome.
Some people said it was like a trailer for the full-length version, and I have no clue what to do with the full-length, with no material, no plans. So if that just wants to be what sets off your whole thing,
if you want to do it, actually, I mean, like we could get a crew together. Really, the way I did it, I shot very little interviews actually. In Derek J's victimless crime spree, But the, you know, like he sat in the recording studio in LRN's recording studio right next to the CAC for I think like 2 hours after he had prepared a list of his basically his narration, his script. He had sat there for 2 hours and then like had all these, we had to do like 2 corrections or something to his narration, and that was it. And then so I took that to basically, if you want to do that, all this footage is on the internet. That's the point I'm trying to get to, actually.
Yeah, that's what I did, and I was unfortunately a little bit. Some of the early ones, like those Real ID protests, they were all 240p David Ridley things. They were awfully pixelated, and I thought, oh my gosh,
Would someone get Dave Ridley an HD camera?
Well, I saw him the other day, and he's still got this like clunky.
Why doesn't he have an HD camera? Please get one. You're like the go-to guy in regards to like.
Hey, you know what we can do?
Footage.
We can do a big Americans for Prosperity fundraiser thing for a new camera for Dave fucking Ridley, because holy crap, he needs an HD camera. I mean, I'd volunteer overtime for that just to like.
I think he needs a GoPro camera, in fact. Even,
oh yeah.
Because if he's already doing this first-person view sort of thing, I mean, just strap the thing on your head. Like, nobody's gonna say, "Oh, I didn't know he was filming," or.
Yeah, they know who he is. They know that. Just a weird-looking guy walking around. I mean, he's got to be filming stuff. Yeah, and then at the end of his beginning of his video, he's going to be, you know, this next few years of the Ridley Report sponsored by Americans for Prosperity. Some little weird thing that he does, .com.
No, I really do wish, though, that more people in the community picked up a camera, their cell phone, and hit record and put it on YouTube, because there's so much footage that's already out there now, and there's so much more footage that will be out there that people can make, cut into more documentaries and stuff like that, or even make like a TV series or something along those lines. And the more and more footage we put out there, the more and more opportunity there is for some sort of content to be created and edited. One thing I'd like to see, and this is kind of going into the near future, already almost here, like you said about how they really should have a GoPro camera like on his hat or something like that while he's walking around. Like, I mean, Google Glass is coming. It's already, you can get a developer version, but retail versions are going to come out and whatnot. You can go already get spy glasses that have a camera on it and whatnot.
Yeah. I've seen Pete Ayer's little wraparounds with that little camera right there.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get to the point where wearable tech, it's here. It's here now, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. I would love to see, multiple activists around the state and whatnot utilizing something like that, because it's so much different. Like, I have my camera right here. Like, me holding this up and recording someone, obviously that person, it already puts them at a standpoint backwards where like, oh my God, I'm being recorded and whatnot. But by using like just glassware where it looks like, your normal prescription glasses, like I have like thick frames. If I had a small camera in here where you couldn't tell that I'm wearing like, I had, some sort of wearable tech, they're going to act in a way in which they normally would act. I mean,
and you're going to catch them in the act. Of
exactly. And that's not just for cop blocking. That's talking to politicians. That's going into courts. I mean, in court, they're not really going to tell you. If I have prescription Google Glass, they're going to tell me I can't be wearing my glasses. You know?
Well, that's the other thing. It's not just a negative on the spot. There's a positive too, because when you're going around filming people and you're just trying to capture them at their purest, like the uncut sort of art, it's hard to tell someone to act natural, because then they don't.
Right.
Like for example, our own good buddy JJ Epic, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, really good guy, really fun to be around, got a good humorous personality, and he was wooden as hell on the show. Just of course he's probably gonna be watching this, being like, "Fuck you, man," But wow. So he's probably gonna be whatever. He was very stoic, kind of ill at ease, etc., and kind of bummed that the world didn't get to see the JJ we all knew and loved as the goofy old manager of the Quill, who's always there for some quick-witted ill insight. And so a lot of people, and I know some other people around the community who, it's not that there's always those who don't film me, man, don't expose my shame, but there's also the people who don't mind the principle of being filmed, but they just get all shy and freezing. They just aren't themselves.
They're not good on camera.
Yeah,
I'm kind of one of those in most of the cases.
Hey, you're doing pretty well so
far. You like
far.
being behind the camera, not on it?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you feel that way?
I don't know. I mean,
Do you care? Do you care if someone came up and just started filming you whenever you're, if you're out and about?
I think what it is I have a fear of saying something stupid and not being able to go back, especially when I'm not the one editing, and
I understand.
Sorry about that. Throwback to last week's podcast.
No, I understand that. Like, might say something wrong or whatnot. I mean, we're all gonna say something wrong at some point. Or, to me, I don't really care if I'm filmed. I don't care if I'm out and about. I mean, unless I'm in a private area where I don't want to be filmed. But like, if I'm out in public, I don't care if I'm filmed. I didn't come here to hide. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I came here to make a change. If that means me being on camera to help that change, then by all means, turn a camera on and record what I'm saying or doing, if that's going to help with my cause in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that also factors into why for a long time, I've never had two different social media profiles for a professional and a personal. It's always just been me. And if I'm ashamed of my life to where I have to hide stuff from my professional world, I need to stop doing that. I need to just be more at ease with myself. At the same time, if I'm doing stuff that I don't want out there, maybe I just shouldn't be doing those things. Maybe I should just watch myself and control myself. And so I put myself out there as I am. I model who I am around that.
Well, you have a whole different background because you've lived this life of like being in the politicos and working for think tanks or God knows what else and whatnot. You've kind of lived that that life from the get-go of social media. Baby. I'm coming from like being within the matrix, so to speak, having a normal job, which I still do. And honestly, I'll probably find another job within the system, or be a day walker and go back out into that world and try and operate and whatnot. I did create a secondary profile compared to my original one, which I still keep up from time to time, just for like coworkers and stuff like that. Just keep like some sort of presence. But for the most part, my profile I created for like activism and whatnot has become my go-to personal profile, besides just not like my activism profile.
So what he's trying to get across is that he's the Batman.
Well, I would like to mention too, though, is like I'm not ashamed, of who I am, and that's like not why I don't want to be on camera necessarily. Like I'd value like privacy in a sense that I guess I had something for that, but
well, I mean, I understand. I understand the value of privacy.
Yeah.
Like I kind of live a huge open life. I don't talk about everything on my social profiles that I really want to talk about. There's like some stuff I just don't. I'm not going to put anything else out there, but I do put a lot of my life out on it.
And I just remembered what I was going to say actually. Like I like to, for instance, when I'm just meeting people, I don't mention right off the bat that I'm, part of a Free State Project movement. I'm a libertarian, this or that. I want to leave as many doors open as possible in making a new connection with a person. And so, like, I try to, like, leave out a lot of the things that I eventually, I hope that they either are already on the same page with me or I can help bring them to that point. Like, I hope I can do that with anybody I interact with. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I like to be reserved, until I kind of figure out who they are.
Well, that's definitely how I kind of operate in my, my day job.
Mm-hmm.
Though more and more information is kind of when people from the community come in to work a couple of times lately now, though it's kind of like putting, come visit. Like it's like okay, that's kind of like it's getting out there. And like, the fact that they'll ask me, what was your week like, and I give them like a small details and like tell them like about like equipment for a show and stuff like that. Like, show? What the hell are you doing in New Hampshire with a show and whatnot? But I some of the information is getting out, but for the most part, like my work is like my secret identity.
One of these days, I'm gonna show up in like a big trench coat and no shirt with a big black A painted on my chest. Just be like, comrade, join me in the resistance. Leave this place, and then just everyone's just like, what the fuck? Oh my gosh. We're gonna have to come and prank them one of these days. I'll come in like
Yeah,
semi-communist, like revolutionary garb. Just all show up and be like, "The resistance calls, brother." I totally that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I understand why some people don't put everything on, social networks, because they gotta find a job that's in the, what so-called real world, And I would love to get to a point where I can be an agorist and not deal with that. That's my goal at some point. But for the here being, I still have to work within.
Well, if you're starting from as far as agorism and getting into that, if you're starting from the bottom, for instance, you don't have a lot of capital saved up. I mean, that's kind of where I came from, and I'm still kind of scraping the surface. But I foresee the prosperity in my future.
Well, one thing that's kind of amazing with this community is the fact that because there's so many new movers coming in, the population is vastly growing. That agorism can work within the liberty community here, because everyone doesn't want to operate within the state. So like you have a market demand for some sort of service or product that isn't using the state in any way. So like in other places where you have to operate with people that support the state, you can actually start up a business within the community and actually be successful, and depending on how successful a business person you are.
Yeah, that was my whole perspective when moving here. I was looking through the job boards and the resources, etc., for a long time, and some of them pointed to go to human sources of employment and like normal websites, and I just felt like so I'm not quite revolted, but just like, why am I going to go through that with someone I have no connection with at all? And then here I go with the whole porcupine community, and any job, no matter if I'm vaguely qualified, is just like, I have this instant connection. I can talk to them about Bitcoin or silver or something like that for compensation. They're not going to want to report me to the government for whatever. And it's just, I don't see, I mean, I guess people are braver than me who like come out here and seek normal employment. And
You think it's braver than people doing agorism?
not necessarily, I don't even know.
Because I think agorism is probably more brave than getting a job within the system.
Agorism?
I think so too. I mean, I've been totally agorist since I've been here. I haven't held I haven't even attempted really an on the books job, paying taxes, anything like that. I mean, in a sense, that's why I'm kind of, like I said, I'm scraping the bottom and have been for a little while.
At least you're not feeding the system.
Right, but I'm doing a lot of work, especially like this film. I'm not getting paid for it per se. Like I'm getting.
You think we get paid for this podcast?
Right.
No, we don't see a dime of this. This is all like half of this equipment was bought with our own dime.
Which,
But
by the way, I
eventually-
would like to announce that the Rebel Love Show does accept donations in
There you
Bitcoin.
go. Bitcoin.
At the very end of this show, I'm going to throw up the QR code and stuff. Again, the final edited version. You're going to have the QR code. You can scan it. You can donate. You can make this guy happy. He's almost out of underwear. He can buy a new pair of you.
Oh, I go
and-
commando.
Dude,
Anywho,
you're not helping the cause, dude. Come on, trying to get
we need better
money.
We need a new lamp, because Bo's using his lamp.
Yeah,
you
he's
know, better
going
lighting.
to steal the light, and then the
It's gonna be darker
Yeah.
here next episode.
the religious.
It has a more romantic feel without the lamp, though.
Yeah, with the
It's the love feel.
the lamp gives it more of like in the presence of His Holiness Ian Freeman, peace be upon him. that sort of effect. Down from the sky.
Anywho, you accept Bitcoin too, right?
Yeah. We
Alright.
have a Bitcoin widget on the 101reasonsfilm.com website.
Well, guess where there's going to be a link to that?
Show notes.
Down
Nice.
here. Giving you a plug, hooking you up, brother.
Awesome, thank you. Well, actually, as far as the film, I would like to point out that if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can find that on the website too.
Yeah, I sure have.
Oh, awesome. We're going to be putting out pre-release videos, so coming up in the next couple weeks, you're going to start seeing videos just come rolling out. All kinds of exposure for the Free State Project and all the organizations involved, and I definitely want to get you guys your own little pre-release video too.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So
Thank you.
that
I
would be
appreciate
great.
it. That can be our next trailer, our intro video. You need to update that, because there's
Yeah.
scenes in that that I'm not too keen on.
Keen. Very funny. No, there's one spot in our current intro video where there's like a 2 to 3 second clip of myself spanking Lauren Rumpler with a spatula repeatedly in the quill, and so that is somehow in the intro video.
What do you mean somehow in the intro video?
I don't
You're
know
the one that made the damn intro video.
I was just like put it together. I was looking through my clips, and boom, it just came to be, and I'm like, I guess why not? So there we go.
But
you know how, as a fellow creative person, I mean, excluding this guy over here, right? You understand how it just flows sometimes. You just gotta just something, you throw it there. Just like at the beginning of that 420 rally video, there just had to be Rich Paul spouting eloquent nonsense. It just had to be. It just had to be there. It was nonsense. It was very eloquent, and it just had nothing to do with the 420 rally, but it was just so apropos.
Yeah,
it called.
Yeah, it did. It felt right.
Yeah, do what feels right. That's all I do, and that felt right there.
Do you plan on keep putting YouTube short videos of? I mean, right now, obviously, they're like little tidbits of what the documentary is going to be like, which I think is great for just marketing purposes. Because some people don't have the time to sit down through like an hour and a half, 2 hour documentary, but just throwing small clips here and there, that. To me, is a huge amount of content for people. Like for people that haven't moved yet, because obviously all three of us, our primary goal here is to get more movers. So something like that for I was starving for content before I moved. Like I need to know more. What are people like here? What's going on? And that's gonna be huge to adding more small clips and whatnot. But after the documentary is done, what do you plan on doing after that?
Well, we're going to go into a distribution phase, likely basically DVDs. The movie itself is actually going to be released on YouTube for free. But we would like to be able to sell some DVDs on the website to raise some capital back and put money into advertising, a lot of online advertising. And what we want to do actually is release the movie in November, right after the elections. So we can catch all the disenfranchised, people who lost, their liberty.
Hey, you know what? Like, right now I'm working to make sure that doesn't happen. Like, I'm doing a lot of work for Americans for Prosperity and stuff like that, trying to get out the vote, and stuff like that, and trying to make sure that we're looking at a rosy 2014. But hey, luckily when we fall and we fall hard, you're there to catch us. And I very much appreciate that.
Awesome, no problem.
Yeah, but I would love to see more content put out in this community. Like, you don't see enough content create. I mean, I understand, like, everyone under the sun seems to have a YouTube channel and a podcast and whatever that may be.
Have it is not the same as using it, updating it, or using it effectively. Like, all these...
Do you think we use this effectively? That's a good question. We're
doing our damnness. That's
we're
sure.
trying. I mean, we're trying to talk about what's life like here. Do you think we're being...
I think so. Well, let me put it this way. I know people in the community, of course, watch it. In fact, I go to parties, and there's like 3 different mentions of, your appearance on I saw that, and, the Rebel Love Show. Oh, cool. The 60-something-year-old grandma of one of my students at the Taekwondo school watches the show, and one of my 16-year-old former students back in Phoenix, he watches the show, and he's in ROTC and wants to join the military. And I said, hey, then the very next episode after you stopped watching, that's the one with Liberty Carrots, who was a veteran setter. You really should watch that one. And so I know from my personal perspective, it's making a difference. And it's not like, the Anarchy Power Hour where normal people are watching this, and it's like, taxation is theft. Yeah, I understand. It's theft. It's totally theft. And then you're just like, what the hell are these guys going on about? This is actually relatable conversation. I mean, it's like there's a lot of inside stuff. Like,
we have a lot of inside baseball when we're talking.
Yeah, but it's still just about life and what it's like, and it's still, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too close to the forest to see the trees. Maybe I'm just talking about like, see, we're totally relatable, cool, man. Well, and then people outside are just like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
Well, honestly, like for me, like the show isn't really for the general public, John Q public out there. It's not for them. It's really for the initiated. Like, the content that I try to create, or this show for that matter, for me, it's more a show just to show what life is like here. You kind of have to be somewhat initiated with, the philosophy of liberty to get to this point to probably even discover this show. I know, honesty. Like, you're not going to go out and find this show if you've never, like, unless we personally, like, posted it somewhere or whatnot. If you somehow discovered this on the internet, like, you had to have some sort of philosophical background to get to that point.
I've done my very best to disseminate knowledge of this show over various dating apps. That's like,
how's that working out for you?
I've gotten some people to watch the show. I mean, honestly, yeah, like, it works. Like, I mean, I've tried it.
I've had different success.
That's the thing. It's because it's like, honestly, the biggest success I've had out of those is just saying, oh, hi, I'm a filmmaker. Oh, really? What kind do you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. And bam. Like, half the time ends the conversation right there. But hey, it's still like a start, right? So I know from my personal perspective, I'm putting things out. And this isn't necessarily the uninitiated point of view. What I do with Desert Links in both articles and videos, that's to the educated layperson, for anyone. They don't have to be initiated into philosophies of anything. They can just go there, and I try to keep it vocab free. Like, again, the Rich Paul video and stuff wasn't all heavy-handed, anarchist, this and that. It was just the story. This is the story of Rich Paul, who just came in and did this stuff, and then there you go. This is how it shaped up for him. And then, or this is a story of the Agora cab, the Bitcoin cab. This is the story of the automobile purchase with Bitcoin. And there's a bunch of other cool videos coming up. You just have to wait and see. But it's still, that's my whole shtick. This little thing right here is to just show what the life's like to the people who are down with the ideas, but they want to move out for the ideas. But they have a life. They want to know what life is going to be like. What if they're going to fit in, if there's cool people, if they're going to just be like, yeah, fuck the state, man, and just sit in their basement just like, I don't know anyone, man.
Well, the cool thing, you know, like for anybody who's listening, like the cool thing about this movement and this community is that it's a community of individualists, and everybody's different. Everybody has brings something different to the table, the good and the bad. But yeah, so I mean, like you're not, nobody's gonna like fit.
Oh, there's a lot of social awkwardness.
That's why we fit, is because we don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's always been my perspective, because I moved around so much in my life. I was always the foreigner every country I was at. And so I'm just used to I'm comfortable being the perpetual foreigner, because in the company of other perpetual foreigners. And so here it's like,
everyone. I feel like a foreigner here sometimes.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, with all the Duck Dynasty beards and the talk like they're departed.
Yeah. And the Bruins, man.
The Bruins do. It's like the red, white, and blue flag, right? The
Boston
stars and stripes,
strong.
and then right below it's like the Bruins flag. I think I even saw someone flying it on the same level as the American flag before. It's like it's not even the Sox; it's the Bruins. It's like here, it's all about the Bruins, and the Bruins tattoos I've seen, the Bruins swag, and it's like, again, those dating apps, man, they're great research tools for the whole thing. 1 in 10 at least will have Go Bruins there.
Yeah,
it's pretty
true.
It's
true.
It's great. It's a lot of
those
fun.
are the swipe lefts.
Yeah.
Well, that's like everyone, so no.
No, not everyone has a Bruins thing.
Between Go Bruins and a picture of them with any kind of Bruins swag or anything, that's about 40%.
The sports thing really is just as religious, as like
Oh
statism.
yeah, it is. It's sometimes when I see someone in the community and they're really into sports.
Yeah.
And I almost
have to question.
I always question, like, so you're a sports fan, like why do you still hold on to this?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to dog them or attack them or something like that. Like, the only sport I kind of follow in any way, shape, or form, I kind of like MMA, just because it's an individual sport, and it takes so, like, for a fight, you gotta spend months training for that few minutes to fight. I find that very artistic and individualistic, because
Yeah.
you might be working with other people, but it's all on you, just one person.
Nothing's a more beautiful paintbrush than a bloody foot to the face.
There you go.
Yeah.
But like when someone's rocking like a football jersey or a hockey hat or whatever it might be, if they're in the community, it's like we view
Well, it's another collectivist.
yeah,
sort
we're
of
very
thing.
against collectivism. We're against tribalism, even though I would actually make the argument that the liberty community acts very much as a tribe.
Very much.
Yeah.
I would say definitely because, and it's not a liberty community thing. It's a human condition. We all sort
Yeah.
of band together. Like there's,
Well,
again, if you want to see persecution around here, right? For one thing, say some go out and say you're a minarchist, automatically that like a lot of people like.
well, you are a
Yeah.
minarchist.
And then you go then to the next level. The big one is Firefly.
The minarchist and anarchist.
If you say
connection
you
here.
watched Firefly and you didn't like it, then you might as well like just grab that Bruins flag and go charging somewhere else because you're finished around here. And then paleo and all the other kinds of things. It's like there are these certain trends that tend to follow, and it's like bulletproof coffee. If you prefer normal average cup of Joe over a bulletproof coffee, there's certain kind of pushback you'll get from that, which I
have
find
not tried the bulletproof coffee yet.
Good.
It's very buttery.
You know
Buttery.
why?
Yeah, you put a bunch
why?
of butter in it.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Oh.
Grass-fed butter. You can't put regular butter. It has to be grass-fed or
Oh
none,
yeah,
none
raw
at all.
milk. You have to make a big deal out of raw milk.
Oh yeah.
Now,
if it's
I-
not
I-
raw, then like you can't drink pasteurized milk. In this
Yeah,
community.
well, that's the thing. I love raw milk because I grew up on it. It was not special. It's like, oh yeah, that's stuff I used to milk from the cow growing up. It's like, and here's like, whoa, no, the temple of raw milk. And so I stayed with Derek J. And the first thing he offered me when I went upstairs, do you want a glass of raw milk? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I've never get offered milk when I stay at a guest's house, but it's like, whoa, it's the holy grail of like, it's Liberty juice
It's
right there.
It's a legal substance that was transported across state
Yeah,
lines.
it's
or
Liberty
something like
juice.
that.
That's all it is. Straight from the Liberty cow.
Yeah, but it's amazing how many different things in this community where it's like it is very tribalistic in a way that everyone kind of has some things. Like I don't fit in with that whole food stuff because I eat mostly vegetarian, so it's like I'm not in the paleo group. And people look
Yeah.
at me like, you don't eat bacon? I'm like, I love bacon, but I don't. It's not part of my
Your
normal
yeah.
diet. Like I'll have it on a special occasion. I'm not like one of those crazy vegans that like never eats any meat. No one else should eat a hamburger or something. I'll
Yeah.
have meat on occasion, but it's not. It's more so not just part of my normal diet.
Yeah,
And
I tend
I've
to-
gotten pushback from some people in the community, like, oh, how can you not be paleo? And the thing is, I did Atkins for 6 months, and I lost a hell of a lot of weight doing it.
Just
So like
not a
I
way
can
to live.
relate to it. I just don't want to live on that. Like I did it for
Right.
6 months. I think it's great for losing weight, but I don't want
Well,
to
yeah,
live
and
off
that's
of it.
been my whole thing is I'm extremely tolerant. I eat and drink just about everything.
If it has coffee in the ingredients, then yes,
Yes.
I do.
Everything else, I mean, name any food or drink, I'll just refuse. It's just basically nothing. The only thing that I'm not big into the herb, and that's a huge thing in this community.
Yeah, I don't understand
And
why you
it's-
don't smoke.
I'm not like a. It's not something I have tried it. It's not. It just never had any. It just never took me, and that's And Rich Paul of all people, right? What do they call him? A marijuana Santa or whatever they called him.
want to say
And they used to call him something like that. It's like
Well, no, there's
a
a
ho ho ho. Just going around with a big sack of weed.
groovy.
But groovy. Anyway, yeah, he just like, all right, he understands. He understands me because he's all about the air, but he understands where I'm coming from. Because for him, alcohol was never really his thing, but herb really hit it, and for me, it's the opposite. And he understands, but some other people are like, man, you're refusing the bowl, man.
Oh, I don't. Whoever's like pressuring you that much, like you can give them less of your time.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like I forget. I'll be passing a bowl or something like that, and like, no, I told you like 5 times I don't. But
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't. Personally, I would never like push anybody.
Well, that's been my whole life has been I'm very, very tolerant and accepting of smokers. I've hung out with mostly smokers in my life because, one, they tend to be, they all tend to hang out with each other, and you kind of got to be down with, at least receiving some secondhand smoke if you're in the group, right? And also, they just tend to be cooler people a lot of times, And it's
Or
funny
not a
because
square.
I'm not a smoker. I don't think I'll ever be into smoking anything. I just don't do the whole lung thing. But it's like the smokers tended to be the societal marginals a little bit, like a little bit outside the group. You know, when everyone else is on their way out to lunch, there's like the 4 or 5 guys who hang out outside to have a cigarette and just talk and chill for a little while, and it's like they tend to be the cool people. And so I just always throughout my life hung out with the smokers all the time. And so, you know, it used to be a few times people got suspicious that I was smoking, but I'm like, no, I just hang out with all people who do. And in fact, a lot of times, even though I don't smoke, when I smell cigarette smoke, it makes me nostalgic about good times.
I'm against cigarettes. I'm not a fan of cigarette smokers or cigarette smoking. They need to get on the vaporizers. Like I'm all down for. I like having that. I'm not big on smoking tobacco. Well, I love a good hookah, but I'm not big on cigarette smoking. And but I love the vaporizers because you have this like, you know, it doesn't smell like cigarette smoke. It smells like, you know,
Whatever flavor you happen
coconut
to have.
or you know, strawberry cake or whatever the hell they're smoking at that time.
Or moose droppings.
That's very New Hampshire-ish, I guess. You know, the moose.
Now I got one last question that I sort of want answered. What I know as an artist, you want to capture stuff. What's that one big thing that you just, it's like your metaphorical wet dream of what you just love to just get on film or make a film out of or whatever in the upcoming years? What's just that perfect project to work on that you're just like salivating over and just hoping that comes your way or dreaming that comes your way?
I'd like to really start after this documentary. I'd like to start monetizing my productions so that I can keep expanding it, basically. But one of the things that I really want to do is I want to get into music videos because again, these are short videos that people end up watching on
Well,
YouTube.
there needs to be more fun videos. I know we talk about that a lot. I try to do that with some of the last couple of videos I made, not probably very poorly if I may so.
we'll get
Like I
there.
say, I don't have great editing skills, but there does need to be as much as like there a documentary about what you're doing now, which is fantastic, and what we're doing now. I think we're doing a good job. But there needs to be fun videos, like something.
I'm working on a few.
I know.
It's cool.
We didn't do
I
some
do-
stuff during Pork Fest.
Just so you know, like the pork music scene, starting the end of the year is gonna explode. I mean, like I play 6 different instruments. I've been really wanting to get together with a lot of people, start jamming. There's a lot of people just sort of out there on their own. There's Luther.
I play guitar and sing.
Hey, well there we go. We got a band start. Have a few good music video ideas and stuff, and I think that I can help your dreams come true.
That'd be awesome. My music dreams.
Yeah.
All right.
that's good.
So anyways, we're coming up on the hour, so we're going to be cutting this off. You can find all of our content at rebelloveshow.com, facebook.com/rebelloveshow. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, JRev. If you're listening to this, please subscribe to any of those. Like us, share us. It really helps us out. And you can always find Beau Davis's work at 101reasonsfilm.com. Throw him some Bitcoin. He's doing God's work right now. So
Spaghetti Monster.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not cool in these cross.
I know.
Yeah, and guess what? Throw us some Bitcoin too.
Yeah,
we're community servants, and we don't even charge for this crap. So like, throw us some money because
like us on
because
Facebook.
Ash needs some extra cat food because the ants keep on getting the stuff that's left out.
Yeah, ants. Anywho, all right. Well, anyways, we're out. All right, peace,
guys.